Happy Tuesday, everyone. Trey Besant, Realty One Group Coastal here. Welcome to my new segment, Tuning In with Trey, where every single Tuesday I'm going to give you guys new video content covering everything there is to know about real estate. Given the current market and the seller's market that it is, you have multiple offer situations everywhere. So I figured it an appropriate time to go over all the tips that I use to win those multiple offer situations. Here are my 7 tips for you. Tip number 1, hire a real estate professional. In most cases, people are going to go with their cousin or their best friend who got into real estate. And in some cases, this may actually be the best situation for you. However, I would strongly suggest to interview multiple agents. You can be as picky as you want when you're picking agents, the same way that you can be as picky as you want when you're picking houses. You want to have someone who you mesh with, who is savvy and who also will go to bat for you and represent you to the best of their ability. Tip number 2, get pre-approved. This should be number 1. However, that real estate agent that you sign with should have a list of preferred lenders that have different options and programs catered to you. Just like you can be picky about your real estate agent or your home, you can be picky about your lender. Interview multiple, see who you think has the best programs for you. Number 3, flexible timelines. Now, typically in a real estate transaction, you're not going to know much about those other offers coming in. Meanwhile, you have to make your offer as strong as possible. Now, pretty much everything in a real estate contract, pretty much everything has a timeline attached to it. That being said, the 2 more important ones that I've seen come up from my experience are a tight due diligence period, meaning that seller has a certain amount of time to really take that home off the market, being that the less time the better and the more optimal for the seller, and or a flexible closing date, making it where you accommodate to the seller to give them time to find their next accommodations. That is just one of the many ways that you can strengthen your offer. Tip number 4, escalation clause. This is so underutilized and quite frankly, the number 1 tool I use to win multiple offer situations. What is an escalation clause? Basically, you draw up an offer for a certain amount, beating an offer by a certain amount up to a certain amount. To put it in layman's terms, say you have a home listed at $350,000. You can offer $345,000 or whatever number you come up with, beating them by X amount. In this case, we'll say $1,000 up to a certain amount. In this case, we'll say $360,000. So your offer is $345,000, beating the next best net offer by $1,000 up to $360,000. How do you protect yourself from overpaying? Make it contingent on appraisal. Use an escalation clause in your next multiple offer situation. Number 5, offer letter. This is one that I normally have my buyers do in a bidding war, or even if they're trying to lowball. I've actually had it work in both situations, so I am a huge believer in this. Basically, when you bring emotion into the business world, it makes money matter a little less, or at least can matter a little less. Moral of the story is you never know what can happen when you pull on someone's heartstrings a little bit. Tip number 6, raise the earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit, or good faith deposit, is money put forth by the buyer basically to show their seriousness within said transaction. In other words, the more money put down by the buyer, the more risk the buyer's taking, making it more intriguing for that seller. Raise that earnest money to win those bidding wars. Number 7, buying the home as is. Let me preface by saying none of the other tips in this video I'd say are chronologically ordered in order of importance. This one is. This should be a last case scenario, last circumstance. You've got to really love that home, be confident in that home, and be really confident in that inspector. Now, where you are protected is you do have a due diligence period to get out, in which case you can have the home inspected in that due diligence and get out in that period of time. So it doesn't fall fully on the seller's behalf, but knowing that their buyer or potential buyer in this case may buy their home as is certainly eye candy for that seller. And that's it for my tips today, guys. I've heard a few others tossed out there, you know, waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, things of that nature. I wouldn't suggest either one of those. An inspection is the most important part to the buying process, in my opinion. And appraisals, that's kind of the one way that you can make sure that you don't overpay. So let's not waive those inspections and appraisals and implement those other tips that we went over today. But anywho, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all, and especially if you've got to this part in the video. I am going to try to continue to get better at this and get better at the content that I give you guys. Again, my name is Trey Besant, Realty One Group Coastal. I will see y'all next Tuesday. Love you guys.